All right, let's talk about money, not the kind you earn, the kind you might be leaving on the table right now without even knowing. And I'm not talking about some obscure loophole or sketchy side hustle. I'm talking about a legitimate military benefit that was designed to help service members who are struggling financially, but somehow flies completely under the radar. It's called the Basic Needs Allowance, or BNA. And if you've never heard of it, you're not alone. Most service members haven't. But by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what it is, whether you qualify, and how to get it. So buckle up because we're diving deep into one of the military's best kept secrets. Picture this. You're an E3 in the Army, married with a 2-year-old daughter. Your spouse works part-time at the base exchange, making $12 an hour because childcare costs make full-time work nearly impossible. Between your base pay, BAH, and your spouse's income, you're bringing home maybe $45,000 a year gross. Sounds like you're doing okay, right? Well, wrong, probably. After rent, utilities, car payments, insurance, groceries, diapers, and all the other expenses that come with keeping a household running, you're lucky if you have $50 left at the end of the month. You're not living large, you're not taking vacations, you're just trying to keep your head above water. And here's the kicker. You might qualify for an extra few $100s every single month through the Basic Needs Allowance, and you have no idea it even exists. The Basic Needs Allowance launched in July 2023, and it was created specifically for situations like this. It's a monthly taxable allowance for active duty service members with dependents who gross household income falls below 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. Now, before your eyes glaze over at the mention of federal poverty guidelines, stay with me because this is where it gets interesting. 150% of the poverty line sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. For a family of 3 in the continental US, that threshold is right around $31,000 a year. For a family of 4, it jumps to about $38,000. Alaska and Hawaii have higher thresholds because the cost of living is higher. So, if your total household income, and we're talking everyone's income here, not just yours, falls below that mark, you could be eligible for BNA. You might be thinking, wait, I'm in the military, I make more than $31,000 a year, and you're probably right. But here's what makes this benefit so powerful. It's based on gross household income, not just your military pay. Let's say that you're an E3 we talked about earlier. Your base pay might be around $28,000 a year, and with BAH, you're closer to $40,000. But if your spouse isn't working or is only working part-time and you've got kids, your household income might still fall below that 150 threshold, especially when you factor in the actual cost of living in your area. This is where BNA steps in to bridge the gap. It's designed to bring your household income up to exactly 150% of the federal poverty line for your household size and location. So, if you're $500 a month short, BNA will give you $500 a month. If you're $200 short, you'll get $200. It's tailored to your specific situation. Let me give you another real-world example. Say you're an E4 in the Marines stationed in North Carolina. You've got a spouse and 2 kids. Your spouse was working full-time before your last PCS, and now they're between jobs because finding work after every move is a nightmare. Your gross household income is sitting around $35,000 a year. For a family of 4 in the continental US, 150% of the poverty line is roughly $38,000 a year. That means you're $3,000 short annually, which breaks down to $250 a month. If you apply for and are approved for BNA, you'll get that $250 deposited into your account every single month until your financial situation changes. That's an extra $3,000 a year that can go towards groceries, car repairs, emergency fund, or just breathing room in your budget. Here's the thing though, the military isn't just going to automatically start paying you. You have to apply. And this is where a lot of service members miss out because either they don't know about BNA, or they assume they don't qualify, or they think the application process is going to be some bureaucratic nightmare. So let's break down exactly how this works. First, the good news. Your military service is actually proactive about this. Each branch will screen service members for potential eligibility based on your pay data. If you look like you might qualify, they'll send you a notification. This is usually done through official channels, think email, your service portal, or through your chain of command. So if you get that notification, don't ignore it. That's your signal to take action. But here's the important part. Even if you don't get a notification, you can still apply. Maybe your financial situation changed recently. Maybe your spouse lost their job or had their hours cut. Maybe you just had another kid and your household expenses skyrocketed. You don't have to wait for the military to tell you you're eligible. If you think you qualify based on your circumstances, you can submit an application. Now, the application process varies slightly by branch, but the core requirements are the same across the board. You're going to need documentation that proves your household income. This typically means your most recent tax return or W-2 forms for everyone in your household who earns income. If your spouse works, you'll need their documentation too. If you have investment income, rental income, or any other sources of money coming into your household, that also has to be documented and included. The military wants to see the full financial picture because remember, this isn't just about your military pay, it's about the total household income. Here's a pro tip. Don't try to do this alone. Every installation has financial counselors and community and family support services offices, and these people are absolute lifesavers when it comes to navigating benefit applications. They know the process inside and out, and they can help you gather the right documents, fill out the forms correctly, and make sure you're not missing anything that could delay your application or get it denied. And the best part, their services are completely free. You're already paying for them through your tax dollars, so you might as well use them. Once you submit your application, your command will review it for eligibility. They'll look at your household size, your location, your gross household income, and compare all of that to the federal poverty guidelines for your specific situation. If you're approved, the BNA will start showing up in your pay. It's a monthly allowance, so you'll see it every time you get paid. And here's something important to know. BNA is taxable income. It's not like BAH or BAS, which are non-taxable allowances. The IRS considers BNA regular income. So you'll pay taxes on it just like you do on your base pay. But honestly, even after taxes, it's still extra money in your pocket that you didn't have before. Now let's talk about some of the nuances because there are a few things that you need to know before you apply. First, you have to be an active duty service member with dependents. If you're single with no dependents, you don't qualify, period. This benefit is specifically designed for families. Second, you have to have completed initial entry training. If you're still in basic training or AIT or whatever your branch calls it, you're not eligible yet. You have to have finished that phase of your military career. Third, your household income has to genuinely fall below 150% of the federal poverty guidelines. And this is calculated based on your household size and your location. A family of 3 in Hawaii has a different threshold than a family of 3 in Kansas. The military uses the official federal poverty guidelines, which are updated every year, so the numbers can change slightly from year to year. Here's where it gets a little tricky and where a lot of people get confused. Gross household income includes everything. Your base pay, your BAH, your BAS, your spouse's wages, any investment income, rental income, side gig money, everything. If it's income, it counts. And this is where some service members run into issues. They think, well, I didn't make that much money in base pay, so I must qualify. But then they forget to account for BAH, which in some high cost of living areas can be substantial. Or they forget that their spouse's part-time job pushes them just over the threshold. The key is to be honest and thorough when documenting your income. The military will verify everything anyway, so trying to hide income or fudge the numbers isn't going to work. It'll only get you into trouble. Let's talk timing for a second because this is important. When you get notified of potential eligibility, your service branch may set a deadline for you to apply. For example, the Army might say you have 60 days from the date of notification to submit your application. If you miss that deadline, you might have to wait until the next eligibility screening cycle. So when you get that notification, act fast. Don't put it off. Don't assume you'll have time to deal with it later. Get the paperwork together, visit your installation financial counselor, and submit that application as soon as possible. Here's another scenario that comes up all the time. Let's say you're an E5 in the Air Force and your spouse just got laid off. Your household income just took a major hit and suddenly you're struggling to make ends meet. You didn't qualify for BNA before because your combined income was above the threshold, but now you might be eligible. The smart move here is to apply as soon as your financial situation changes. Don't wait for the next screening cycle. Don't assume the military will automatically know that your circumstances have changed. Reach out to your financial counselor, explain the situation, and get the application process started. BNA is designed to be responsive to your current financial reality, not your situation from 6 months ago. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. BNA isn't just about the money. I mean, yes, the money is obviously important, And an extra couple $100 a month can make a huge difference when you're living paycheck to paycheck. But beyond that, BNA is about economic security and stability for military families. It's about making sure that the people who serve this country don't have to worry about whether they can afford groceries or keep the lights on. It's about recognizing that even though military service comes with a lot of benefits, it also comes with unique financial challenges, frequent moves, spousal unemployment or underemployment, unpredictable expenses related to military life. BNA is one way the military is trying to address those challenges and make sure that the service members and their families can focus on the mission instead of stressing out about the money. Now let's address some of the common misconceptions because there are a lot of them floating out there. First, some people think that applying for BNA is admitting failure or that it's somehow shameful. That's absolute nonsense. Using a benefit that you're entitled to isn't a sign of weakness or poor financial management. It's smart, it's strategic, it's taking care of your family. Nobody judges you for using your GI Bill or your VA home loan, right? BNA is the same thing. It's a benefit. I don't care if your budget already works. Use it if you qualify. Second misconception. Some service members think that if they apply for BNA, it'll hurt their career or their security clearance. Also, false. Applying for a benefit that you're legally entitled to has no impact on your career progression, your promotions, or your security clearance. Financial stress, on the other hand, can impact your clearance if it leads to serious problems like bankruptcy or debt issues. So if BNA helps you avoid those problems, it's actually protecting your career, not hurting it. Third misconception. People think the application process is too complicated or too time-consuming. Look, I'm not going to lie and say it's a 5-minute process. You do have to gather documents and fill out forms and submit everything through the proper channels. But with the help of your financial counselor and family support services, it's really not that bad. Most service members who apply spend maybe a few hours total on the entire process, and that's a pretty good return on investment if it means a few extra $1,000 a year. Let's talk about what happens if your financial situation improves. Maybe your spouse gets a better job, or you get promoted, or your household income goes up for some other reason. Once your gross household income exceeds 150% of the federal poverty guidelines, you're no longer eligible for BNA, and the payments will stop, and that's fine. The whole point of BNA is to provide temporary support when you need it most. It's not meant to be a permanent part of your pay. It's a safety net. When you don't need that safety net anymore, you step off, and someone else who needs it can step on. Here's a final real-world example to tie this all together. Imagine you're an E3 in the Navy, stationed in Virginia Beach, married with one kid. Your spouse works part-time as a server, bringing in maybe $15,000 a year. Your combined gross household income is around $43,000. For a family of 3 in the continental U.S., 150% of the poverty line is about $31,000. So at first glance, you don't qualify. But wait, let's say your spouse's hours get cut and their income drops to $10,000 a year. Now your gross household income is $38,000. Suddenly, you're in range. You apply for BNA, get approved, and start receiving enough to bring your household income back up to that $31,000 threshold. Fast forward 6 months, your spouse finds a full-time job making $35,000 a year. Your combined income shoots up to $63,000. You're way above the threshold now, so your BNA stops, and that's exactly how the system is supposed to work. It helped you through a rough patch, and when you didn't need it anymore, it went away. So here's the bottom line. The basic needs allowance is a real benefit with real money that can make a real difference in your life if you qualify. It's not a handout, it's not charity, and it's not something to be embarrassed about. It's a recognition by the Department of Defense that serving in the military comes with certain unique financial challenges, and that sometimes service members need a little extra support to make sure that they and their families can live with dignity and security. If you're an active duty service member with dependents, and your household income is anywhere close to that 150% threshold, do yourself a favor and look into this. Talk to your financial counselor, run the numbers, see if you qualify. The worst thing that can happen is you find out you're not eligible. The best thing that can happen is that you start getting a few $100 extra a month that you didn't even know you were entitled to. And if you're a financial professional working with military families, financial coaches, counselors, advisors, make sure you know about BNA. This is one of those benefits that can fly under the radar, and if you're not bringing it up with your clients who might qualify, you're doing them a disservice. A lot of military families are out there struggling in silence, thinking that they just have to tough it out because it's what military life is about, but it doesn't have to be that way. BNA is proof that the military is taking financial readiness seriously and trying to do right by the people who serve. So, There you have it. The basic needs allowance. What it is, who qualifies, how to get it, and why it matters. Because here's the truth. The military offers a ton of incredible benefits, but they don't always do a great job of making sure you know about them. That's where we come in. We're here to shine a light on the programs and services that can change your life one benefit at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.